Good morning, Table Mountain Church. This is George Ann Tomasich. A lot of you know me as George. I want to tell all of you, may God's blessings flow on you as richly as they have on me. I cannot wait to see all your beautiful faces and get my hugs. I miss my hugs. I hope you're all taking care. Be good to yourself. And as long as you have faith, nothing in this world can hurt you.
Good morning. This is Mike. I chose this song, Wayfaring Stranger, because it has a haunting melody, but also it has a very hopeful message and in a belief in something greater than this life. Let's all sing along. I am a poor, wayfaring stranger while traveling through this world of woe. Yet there's no sickness, no toil or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. Going there, no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going home. I know dark clouds will hang around me. I know my way is rough and steep, yet beauteous fields lie just before me, and God's redeemed their vigils keep. I'm going there to see my mother. Said she'd meet me when I come. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going home.
Hey TMC, I'm outside doing what I love to do, which is being outside, planting, finding rocks. But I want to tell you a little story about what you see right here. This is my lavender. And the lavender started out about like this. It was a little gift that a friend generously gave to me. A little tiny thing she grew from a seed. And I grew it, and then I planted it here. It's lavender. And the lavender bloomed, and it dropped seedlings, and it grew and grew and grew. And just the abundance of lavender here. And I know I've even given some to like Kevin and Cheryl Amador have come and taken some. I've collected my seeds and given them to people. And it continues to multiply, I'm sure, somewhere. But it all started with my friend. The Bible talks about planting and sowing, and it's not just about seeds for plants actually, but it could be the planting and the sowing of the gospel. It could be that the Bible is talking about the planting of our resources, our money. You know, it says in Scripture, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This has been my treasure. I put a lot of resources into this. The Bible also talks about if you sow generously, you will reap generously. In Table Mountain Church, you have been generous, and you have generously given to our local ministry here at Table Mountain Church, but also far away in Catania, to the migrants there who are in need. You gave $2,000. But bringing it back here to our area, just within an hour of our town here, there are 3 different church plants that you have raised $500 that we are splitting up and sending to them to encourage them, to spur them on, and that they will continue to sow and reap the benefits. So we want you to meet these people. We want to put a name with a face, and I want you to meet these 3 church planners who are really close to us that we support, and be praying for them also.
Well, hello, Table Mountain Church. I know some of us have met, but some of us have not. My name is Matthew. This is my wife, Kate, and we are church planters in Pueblo. We started Grace Life Church in 2016, and really just want to tell you guys thank you for always supporting us and always being in prayer for us. And we just want to share a couple of ways that you can be praying for us.
So last year we moved into a new building, and we recently found out that there's a broken sewer line. And it's going to be a little bit expensive to fix. We're in the process of getting bids on that, so you could just pray for finances there, and that would go smoothly and get fixed.
And a second way you can be praying for us is that we would move out of what is called church planting status and into healthy church status. Just a number of goals we have to get to the point where we know that we're a healthy, functioning church, and we are knocking on the door. We have all of the goals but one, which is financial independence, meaning we don't rely on any outside sources. So please be praying for our finances, that we can accomplish that last goal and move into healthy church status.
And finally, you can pray for our church and really for all the churches. Just pray for wisdom as we look at what it looks like meeting together, moving forward, what meeting online looks like. Just pray for guidance for that.
All right, guys, thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Reif. I am the Senior Executive Vice Teaching Youth Pastor and sometimes Sound Technician at the 40 Church here in Westcliff, not too far from you all. And I just wanted to say hi. Pastor Rob asked if I would shoot a quick video. Does he have his doctorate? Maybe Pastor Dr. Rob. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for your partnership with us. Because of Table Mountain Church, actually, we have some sound equipment that we would not have been able to afford. And so truly that partnership with you all has been really, really good. Rob asked if I could shoot a quick video and just kind of say who I was, and then mention a prayer request. We were actually getting ready to launch a youth ministry on March 20th, and I've been involved in youth ministry since back in the mid-90s, and so I was really excited to be able to do this. We really need a good, healthy youth ministry here in the Wet Mountain Valley in Westcliff, Silvercliff area. And so we were ready, we were gearing up, we had everything planned, and then this whole COVID-19 hit. And so now we are getting ready, we are planning again and getting ready to start that. So that is just a big prayer request. I think a youth ministry would be healthy for our church, but also I think it would be very healthy for our community, for the students here. And so I just thank you for those prayers. Appreciate you guys, appreciate all that you do for us. How you support us, you love on us. I know some of you have never met us before, but we think of you often, and we treasure your partnership with us in all of this. So thank you.
Hey, Table Mountain Church, this is Omar Short.
And I'm Alicia Short.
And we're Post Church and also CrossFit Florence. And we want to thank you for your prayers and thank you for your generosity. We love you guys. We appreciate all that you've been doing for us, caring for us in different ways. So one of the ways we would continue to ask for your prayers is this. One of the things that's been happening a lot through this whole shelter in place thing is that God has put marriages on our hearts. We are reaching out to married couples and praying for them and talking to them and try to encourage them through this hard time. But marriages are under attack, so please join us in that prayer request. Also, we were just given our approval to to start CrossFit Florence back up. So we did that yesterday. So we had a whole day of craziness here. Alicia is our instructor, our trainer, and so am I. And so it's really busy for us. So ask for just for God to care for us, and as far as like just being having energy to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And so those are a couple of things you guys could be praying and help us to be, a loving husband and wife and loving parents. Anything you want to add?
Just that we are good with our time, especially this added workload. We have to add extra classes for our clients here, and just that we're good with that, but also that we are protective of our rest time too, because it's easy just to kind of get in a cycle of busyness, and so that we are mindful of that. So, yeah.
Awesome. So real quick, I just want to take you for a virtual tour here. This is our CrossFit gym. This has been a great ministry, and want to just let you guys kind of see what it looks like. We have a lot of cool people who've been supporting us in this whole thing. So,
You might have gotten a little motion sickness from that. Sorry.
yeah, if you're feeling a little oozy, breathe. Okay. But hey, this is Alicia and Omar from Pulse Church. God bless you. Thank you. We love you.
Good morning, TMC. If you're like me, you find yourself at home more these days and spending more time with your kids. While I'm at home with them, I really want to help them to continue to grow and learn and develop spiritually. To that end, I've come up with a project that'll help really put into practice last week's message on prayer. I love what Rob said about how we should be weaving it into the fabric of our everyday lives. For my kids, I really want to develop that habit while they're young. You'll be able to do this project with items you probably already have at home. You can use an old jar or other container. We recycled a yogurt container. You'll also need popsicle sticks or something similar to write your prayer prompts on. You can use markers, paints, or stickers to decorate your container. To put your prayer jar together, simply write down prayer topics on the popsicle sticks and put them in the decorated jar. As your kids draw a prayer out of the jar each day during prayer time, you'll be able to help them verbalize their prayers and think about how they talk to God. I hope you enjoy making a prayer jar with your family. Use it each day as you pray with your kids. May it help them develop good prayer habits and help us all to weave prayer into the fabric of our everyday lives.
Good morning, Table Mountain Church. I'm so glad you're watching this right now. This week is the second in our series on basic spiritual disciplines, kind of basic training for life with Jesus. Last week, Rob talked about prayer. This morning, I'm going to talk about Sabbath. Now, I just have this hunch when I say I'm going to talk about Sabbath that some of you are going to go, oh man, he's going to tell me I can't mow my yard, and not going to happen. The verse for today is this. Therefore, let no man act as your judge in regard to food or drink or in respect to a festival or a new moon or a Sabbath day. Don't let anybody act as your judge, including me. These things which are a shadow of what is to come, but the substance belongs to Christ. So, I'm not going to judge you for how you do or don't observe the Sabbath. But we're going to look at what the Bible says about it. I'm going to start with Jesus and then work our way back in the Bible to where this idea begins. So Jesus shows up, and in several episodes, he's kind of reorienting the way the Jews think about the Sabbath, which was a gift from God, this 24-hour period where they didn't have to do anything. 24 hours of rest in a fairly intensive work week. So Jesus shows up in Matthew 11:28, right at the end of Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, he says this, Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. Have you ever felt weary or burdened? People Jesus was talking to, they certainly did. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So this is Jesus giving this lecture about who he is and what he's come to do. And then immediately in Matthew chapter 12, verse 1, as Matthew continues the story, it's kind of like, here's how Jesus was living this out. At that time, Matthew 12, verse 1, at that time Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what..." Pharisees have mean voices, right? "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on Sabbath." He answered, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you read in the law that the priests on Sabbath duty in the temple desecrate the Sabbath and yet are innocent? I tell you that something greater than the temple is here." Himself. That's what he's talking about. Something greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice," you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. Now that's pretty heavy little bit of revelation for his audience right there that Jesus gives. But Matthew goes on. Jesus goes on. Matthew keeps recording. Verse 9, going on from that place, he went into their synagogue. And a man with a shriveled hand was there, looking for a reason to bring charges against Jesus. They asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "If any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." So he stretched it out and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. But the Pharisees, did they clap? Did they go, "Nice"? Now the Pharisees, Matthew records, went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. So Jesus is saying a couple very important things here. He is Lord of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is for people. The Sabbath had been burdened down with all of these rules and regulations. He's saying, yeah, it's right to do good on the Sabbath. Sabbath is a gift to you guys, not a way to have power over other people. Okay, let's back way up in the Bible to Exodus chapter 20. In the list of the Ten Commandments, this is number 4. Would probably be our go-to for most of us. Well, what about the Sabbath? Well, it's in the Ten Commandments. Here's what God records. Exodus 20, verse 8. "Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy," or remember it by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but on the 7th day it is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, daughter, male, female servant, nor animals, any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So he's saying this is how we're going to approach this weekly cycle. That one day, you take it off. Now back up a little bit farther in Exodus to one of the early episodes, because the Sabbath didn't show up in the Ten Commandments. It had already been a part of things. And this is where manna had started coming down, and people were getting manna, and Moses was trying to sort out, get an extra helping on Friday so you have it for Saturday. Don't go out on Saturday. Saturday's the Sabbath. Exodus 16:27, "Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but they found none. Then the Lord said to Moses," and I can almost hear God sighing as he did this, but I'm not really sure that's what God does. He says, "How long will you refuse to keep my commandments and instructions? Bear in mind the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That's why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where they are on the 7th. No one's to go out." Sabbath was hard for these guys to figure out from the beginning. If it's a little hard for us to incorporate into our cultural situation, no wonder, huh? And then way back to the very start of the story, where we first get this idea. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. "By the 7th day, God had finished the work he had been doing." This work of creating, bringing it into being, saying, it was so good. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So this Sabbath idea goes all the way back to God taking time off to enjoy the wonder of what he had created. Not because God needed a break. He's omnipotent. He doesn't need to take a rest. But he set up this cycle and this timetable for us. Now I want us to take the next 5 minutes and watch a Bible Project video talking about this idea of Sabbath weaving through the scriptures. Now if you've heard me speak any time at all, really, you know I love these Bible Project guys. This video is beautiful and so insightful. I'm going to enjoy it, watching it again for the, 18th time perhaps. Watch it with me, and I'll come back for some concluding remarks.
The number 7 is a big deal in the Bible.
Yeah, in biblical Hebrew, the word 7 is connected to the idea of fullness or completeness.
And that's something we all long for, but don't often experience. Instead, we find ourselves working endlessly, fighting back chaos with no real rest.
Yes. Now keep all that in mind as we turn to Genesis 1 in the Bible. It begins with darkness and disorder, but then God speaks to bring about light and order so that life can flourish.
And this happens over the course of 6 days.
Each day is marked with the phrase, "There was evening and there was morning." But on the seventh day, something special happens.
God stops and rests.
Right. Creation is brought to its completion on the seventh day. And that phrase, "There was evening and there was morning," it doesn't appear on day 7.
It's like a day with no end.
On the seventh day, God's presence fills his creation. The land provides for all of God's creatures, including humans, who are appointed to rule the world with God forever.
Kings and queens of the seventh day rest. I can get into that.
But the humans are deceived by a dark power, and they forfeit that rest. They're exiled into the wilderness, where they have to work as slaves to the land.
Until they die and return to the dust from which they came.
But God wants to restore humanity back to that seventh day rest. So he chooses to give the family of Israel that experience of ultimate rest so they can share it with others.
But how? They're in Egypt, slaves to an oppressive empire who's grinding them into the dust.
So God confronts Egypt and he liberates the Israelites, taking them through the darkness and chaos on the way to the promised land.
Now, while they're on their way, they find themselves in the wilderness. It's easy to get lost. Life is a struggle. They're not in the land of rest yet.
But while they're on the way, God invites them in the wilderness to start living as if they're in the promised land.
But how do you practice the future rest in the wilderness?
Well, God tells them that every seventh day they are to stop their work, or in Hebrew, to Shabbat, so that they can rest and enjoy God's good world.
So take a whole day to live as if the ultimate rest has already come.
Yeah, this is the Sabbath, celebrated every week on the seventh day. But there's more. The Sabbath is just one of 7 festivals that Israel practiced every year, each one anticipating that seventh day rest.
That is a lot of 7s.
And there's even more. Every 7 years, the Israelites were to liberate slaves, forgive debts, and let the land rest for a whole year. And then, every 7 times 7 years was the ultimate seventh day rest, called the Year of Jubilee. If anyone had lost their land or gone into debt, all was forgiven, everything restored.
Wow, so the Sabbath, these feasts, the Year of Jubilee, it's all pointing towards the hope of future rest.
Right. Now, when the Israelites went into the land, they forgot their God, and so they forfeited their chance for rest in the promised land.
They're exiled and enslaved again by an oppressive nation, led back into a world of chaos and disorder.
But Israel's prophets said that their exile would end one day, and that the ultimate jubilee of freedom and rest would come, but generations go by, and they're still waiting.
It's at this dark point in the story that Jesus appears, and he launches his public mission on a Sabbath day.
Yeah, he read aloud from the scroll of Isaiah, saying that it was time for all captives and slaves to be released because this was the year of the Lord's favor.
What did he mean, this is the year of the Lord's favor?
He was talking about the ultimate jubilee.
Also, Jesus is claiming that seventh day rest would come through him.
Right, he said that he was the Lord of the Sabbath, and he confronted disorder and darkness in all of its forms, liberating people from sickness, sin, even from death itself.
Yet, Jesus was killed, so even his work was undone.
Well, it seemed that way. But notice, Jesus timed his death to take place at the end of the week. His body rested in a tomb during the Sabbath, and on the 8th day, he rose from the dead.
Oh wait, the 8th day? You mean the first day of a new week?
Exactly. Jesus' resurrection was like the first day of a new creation, where God's light and life broke into the darkness.
So because of the resurrection, we have hope in God's promise of future rest. But we're not there yet. It's like we're still in the wilderness, where we experience struggle and pain.
But as we journey towards that ultimate 7th day, Jesus invites us to experience a taste of real rest now by following him. Or in his words, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest."
That's pretty awesome, huh? I love that video. I love what it talks about, this theme flowing through the scripture and culminating in what Jesus is showing us about who he is and what God has in mind for the consummation of all things. And I want to take the last bit of our time, just a few minutes, thinking about some practical application. How do we put this idea of Sabbath into action in our lives? Now, again, you may be tempted to go back. I swear he tells me I can't mow my yard on Sunday. I'm totally not going to do it. Remember, the verse of the day is this: "Therefore let no man," including me, "let no man act as your judge in regard to food or drink or in respect to a festival day or a new moon or a Sabbath day. Things which are a shadow of what is to come, but the substance belongs to Christ." Now, I'm not going to judge how you do this. I'm not really sure what is right, but I'm pretty sure that it would vary for different ones of us how we put this into action. So here are some ideas. You take these and run as God gives you grace. These are not rules. They're things to consider. First, practical application: have a conversation about it. Talk to your spouse, to your parents, to your kids. Heck, text me and I'd be happy to engage about this, because I don't know exactly how I should be putting this into action with my family. Have a conversation. What might God be giving us in the Sabbath? Secondly, and this is related to the first, study about it some more. Try this if you want. Just for fun, Google "gift of Sabbath." Gift of Sabbath. And you're going to find all kinds of amazing, I think they're amazing. Maybe you don't like this guy, I don't know. But these amazing articles about how God has given us this gift of Sabbath, and deepen your study and your understanding that way. That may be a way to put this into action. Third one, give it a short try. What if you just kind of tried it out? Like this afternoon, decide that at 1 p.m., this is going to be Sabbath for me, for us. When you go from me to us, that it's a whole different level. I understand that. This is going to be Sabbath until tomorrow morning, Monday morning at dark 30, when I need to get back up and get back into life. Or if that seems like, oh, that's a little crazy, maybe this is going to be Sabbath until tonight, when the next episode of World on Fire drops on Masterpiece Theater on PBS, which is probably going to be what I'm thinking. Just give it a short try. If today's too soon, look out to next weekend, and maybe next weekend we're going to carve out a bit. Swing for the fence and take 24 hours, evening to evening, Saturday to Sunday evening. Just give it some kind of try. Next thing I want us to think about in terms of practical application is, why would we do this? Why do we do this? Or more crassly, what am I going to get out of it? That was almost the Pharisee voice, wasn't it? That's not really the Pharisees, but what do you get out of Sabbath? Number one, you're going to get some rest. And some of you need some rest. I don't know your lives. I don't know what's going on in your houses, but some of you need some blanked out time to just crash a little bit. Second thing you're going to get. Actually, I want to talk about two things that kind of these complementary or almost contrary ideas. The first set of ideas is this: you're going to discover that you are not indispensable. You're going to discover that you are not indispensable if you take some time off from the stuff that you do. You're going to look at this idea that's probably rolling around in your head: if I don't do this, it won't get done. That's possibly true. But the idea related to it, if I don't do this now, this won't get done, is maybe less true. Maybe it's okay to put stuff off. And as we do that, as we realize we are not indispensable, we also will grow perhaps in understanding that God is reliable, that God will come through, that God will cover the gap, that God, like he did for Israel way back when, he'll give an extra chunk or pile or whatever of manna to carry you through that time of break because he wants you to have that rest. Second complementary set of ideas. This will give you, taking some kind of Sabbath, some like totally off time, chance to deal with the reality that you have value, not only because of what you produce, but even before that, intrinsically because of who you are. A daughter, son of God, created by God in the image of God. This is who you are. What you produce is important. The work you get done matters. But you have value before you produce anything because God has put value in you. So we will begin to get a deeper sense of that reality that we matter because of who we are. And then along with that, as we do, as we realize who we are in the situation, taking some time off, we paint a tiny picture of the ultimate reality of what God is bringing about. You take off a 24-hour chunk of time in your week where you just sit back and you relax and you recoup and you rest and you dream with God. You're painting a picture of what God is ultimately bringing about. I love that. Let me wrap up with two concluding thoughts. One is this: would you join me in asking God what this time of social isolation, what this time of quarantine, what it might open up in terms of you and me practicing, growing, implementing some aspect of Sabbath into our lives. For some of us, we're in a situation where maybe things are popping a little more quickly than usual. Many of us, this has forced a slowdown of sorts. Now, I'd just like you to ask God, Father, does this open up some kind of door? Are there things you want me to think about in terms of setting up routines of break in this frenetic schedule that many of us live? It's part of our culture. Way more than Israel probably. We're part of this culture that we're valued on our busyness and how quickly things are moving. And into that, God says, take a break. Take a break. I want to share this quote with you to wrap up. I found this in doing my research for this talk. Some woman wrote this. It's just amazing. I love this idea. Her family practices Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. And she said, as we approach Friday evening to the beginning of the Sabbath time, she says, there's nothing else we have to do. And she asked, when was the last time you were able to say that? Oh, sure, work is waiting for you. Household chores need to be done. Bills have to be paid. You have responsibilities to attend. Now, parenthetically, for us, some of you have cows that need to be fed. Some of you have people that you're caring for. I have somewhere over 2,000 emails in my inbox that I kind of feel like I need to at least read, maybe respond to. We have stuff that needs to be done. This is the finish of her quote. But on Sabbath, God assures us, not today, not today. Today, there's nothing else you have to do. Can you feel the beauty of that gift? I'll tell you what, this service is over in a few minutes. I'm thinking I'm going to spend some time with the family and I'm going to take a nap because God says, here's this gift of Sabbath for you. I want to take that gift. How about you?
As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are my real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire,